Welcome to Sounds of Sud. I'm your host, Jasmine. This podcast is for all the music lovers and anyone that wants to learn more about working in the music industry. Bringing you interesting insights and wild stories from DJs to festival organisers, we talk to all of the people behind the scenes that make the magic happen. So make sure to hit subscribe and I'll see you on the dance floor. I always get so nervous that it's...
Oh, you're nervous.
That it's not going to bloody record your blue.
Yeah, good.
All right, perfect. No, let's do it. Welcome, Mixed Methods, to Sounds of Sud, the podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. We're finally here. We've was it third time lucky for the rescheduling?
Yes, we're both so busy and
yeah, I mean,
lots of stuff going on right now.
Your first reason was 100% valid. I was like, here. So I was going to ask about your weekend just gone, but before we get to that, I might wind it right back to the weekend that we had to postpone for the first time. You were with Carl Cox in New Zealand. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, I was over in New Zealand with Josh Butler and Carl Cox and Julia Fox. I wanted to have a weekend out. Been going out. Yeah, like I wanted to have a weekend off from DJing myself, and I have been going flat chat since even before I went to Europe last year.
Which was
in September, October, and then straight back into
Sydney summer.
And it just has been weekend after weekend. I do some work with Josh for my music production, and I saw that he put up on his socials that he was playing this tour in New Zealand with Carl Cox and Juliet Fox. And I said to my really good mate Pete, I was like, you know what, I kind of like, because Josh had been here and playing, and we had like such a great boys weekend, just hanging out, listening to him playing music and, you know, just hanging out. So I was like, you know what, I really feel like let's go and have another boys weekend. So I wrote Pete into it. We went over there just for the weekend. We flew in on Friday. And then so Josh and everyone were playing on the Friday up in Wellington, and then we went to Auckland the next day. We flew down to Auckland, went to this big festival that they were playing at. Then we were meant to come home on the Sunday. We were having such a good time. I put a call in back home with the husband and said, is it okay if I stay an extra day? We want to go down to Queenstown. So, yep, obviously approved. So I went down to Queenstown, and then they played in like a bungee centre down there, which was amazing, with different after parties and all sorts of stuff. And then, I flew home on the Monday. So, it was an amazing weekend. We were meant to meet that then, but the extra
That was definitely a very good reason to reschedule.
Yeah.
Tell me, I obviously know that you have a relationship with Josh, so everyone, Josh Butler, you got a feeling that you like me, that you like that one? That one?
Yes, yeah, call me back.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll call you back. That one.
Yes. But tell me, how did you become friends with him? Obviously, like, it's pretty random.
It was very random, but it was over a period of time. I was out of COVID. He was one of the first internationals to come and play back in Sydney.
After the borders opened.
After the borders opened, as he was residing in New Zealand at the time. One hit agency booked him to play on a party there under a series called Imprint. And that was actually one of my first Ivy gigs in the Courtyard. So it's quite fortuitous that you're talking about this. But yeah, so I was on the supports for Josh Butler with a friend of mine, Andrea, who we were both playing together on the support. So I got
a back-to-back?
As a back-to-back, yeah.
I never knew. I actually never really know you to do... Oh, you do a few back-to-backs, but mainly you're...
selectively, like, with people that out of, like, you know, for my own personal, like, I really want to do a back-to-back with
that person, yeah.
So, yeah, but mostly I like to play by myself. But when I first started, a lot of the gigs that I was playing was back-to-back with my friend Andrea. Anyway, so we played on this Imprint, so I got to meet Josh. And then we kind of stayed in touch, but... You know, just...
Were you a big fan before, or did you...
Oh, of course. Like, I've played his music before and always, you know, loved everything that he makes. And I do play Yes, I'll Call You Back. And then there's another remix that he did of Carl Cox called Prove You Wrong, which was one of my favourite. Was one of the first records, actually, I put on my...
USB.
Box. Yeah.
Wow.
So kind of got to meet him, and then we connected, but it wasn't anything particularly meaningful. And then he came back to Sydney the following year, and Matt from One Hit Agency booked him again to play, and I went to go and see him play, and I got to talking with him afterwards, and I said, oh, where are you off to next? And he said, oh, I'm actually going down to Melbourne to play at Revolver.
Nice.
And I'm playing a 5-hour set with all my own music.
5 hours?
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 hours,
Jeez.
but I'm like playing a full set with just all my own music. Maybe I'm elaborating 5 hours, but I don't know. But
it was long.
It was long, but I'm playing an entire set with just my own music. And I was like, imagine being at a point in your production career where you could play an entire set
just off your own music.
Just off your own music.
And to even have that much music, that's a lot of albums or a lot of singles or whatever.
So impressive. So I was like,
I'm coming.
I'm coming. So I said, like, I want to come down into Melbourne. He was like, absolutely, come down. So it was during the school holidays at the time. And so I convinced the family to come to Melbourne with me. So I took the family.
They came?
Yeah, I took the family down to Melbourne. So I did lots of like family stuff and sightseeing during the day, and then at night I would
zero sleep, loads of coffee,
yeah, and went out to see Josh play. And then how the relationship kind of developed was I'd actually just come back from ADE, and back in that was 22. That was my first time to ADE, and I'd met over there quite a lot of people doing engineering and supporting artists, working on music together, so formulating like a musical team. And so I just asked him the question randomly out of curiosity, really. I said, do you, engineer for anyone? And he said, no, but I would do it for you. And that was kind of the start of how that partnership really came to be.
So this was 2022, we're at the start of 24, so only about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Year and a half? Yeah.
Yeah, but really only, probably maybe about 8 months. Took some time to sort of to get things going and established. But I suppose me going down to Melbourne, spending some more time with him down there, really solidified that we actually did have a really nice vibe.
Gelled together,
we gelled, and I like to think of, every session I sat in with Josh, it's all very hands-on. It's all done by Zoom meetings, or we've even had time where I actually went in the studio with him. Last year when I was in the UK, I had a day in the studio with him.
Yeah, I think I remember messaging that time. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you were with Josh Butler. I was like, that's crazy to me, because obviously me being English and everything, I was just like, that's mad.
Yeah, it is mad.
So cool.
It was actually, for the amazing trip that I had last year, was actually one of the highlight days for me, was just...
That day, spending
the day just in the studio. Josh has got like this yoga ball, so I was just sitting there watching him bouncing away on his yoga ball, and
sometimes you can get so much enjoyment out of just watching someone else do their thing, and you can learn almost just from watching them be, would you say? So that's that's awesome. So that was a great intro. I mean, I'm a bit chaotic with this whole thing. I'm not.
Okay.
I know where I want to get to, and certain questions I want to ask, but it jumps around a lot. So that was awesome. And how much involvement did you have with Carl Cox? Back to New Zealand now.
Well, I mean, I've met Carl Cox twice now, and the first time, going back to Melbourne with Josh, I actually went down when I first met Carl was in Melbourne.
That's
when I went down to see Josh play.
If you don't go, you won't know.
Exactly. I think Carl actually lives in Melbourne, from what I know, and Josh was involved in like a fun run thing, presenting the awards for the charity. So I actually spoke to him at that point as well.
Oh, so nothing to do with music, at a fun run.
Yeah, it was at a fun run. And then, we're just talking casually. Anyway, then I obviously saw him again in New Zealand, and I'm sure he meets thousands of people all the time. So whether he remembers, he did say he did remember me, but I think he's
just being polite. Yeah,
he was being polite, but I don't know. Carl, did you remember me? Let's put the question back on Carl Cox. But yeah, when I saw him in Melbourne, he was really lovely. I actually interviewed him backstage just randomly as a bit of fun. I'm kind of
like off record.
Off record, yeah. Like a kind of a bit of a thing with my social media is like to just pick up my phone and sort of hold it whoever I'm in front of and ask them where I am.
Oh, you've got footage of that?
Yeah, I've got
awesome.
So I can send it through you.
Yeah.
I was like, hey Carl, what are you doing here? And then he was like, oh, I'm here for this festival and da 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 da. And then he sort of did like I'll see you in Queenstown, and a bit of a promo. Yeah, so I was on the promo, but I don't know. Does
he have a posse with him, or is it very much?
Course, yeah. He's got a manager and driver and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, nice, crazy.
So that's definitely something to aspire to, and that's that's it on the mental bucket list for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Manifest that shit. You
golf buggy,
mate.
Being driven from the back of the green room to the stage
in a golf
buggy.
Yeah,
that's on my bucket list.
Right, now it's on record. We're going to make sure that happens,
exactly.
And I'm going to put over this clip at the time it does.
But I do have a photo of me in Carl Cox's golf buggy, so we can also
baby steps.
Yeah, but it's not mine, so I'm not technically taking.
Yeah, cool. But you're putting yourself in the like. I'm finding myself more and more recently. Like, I'm not exactly where I want to be. I'm a long way from it, but I'm definitely in the environment I want to be in, and I'm like, I'm just worming my way in, like wherever possible. And you've got to put yourself out there and put yourself in the situations that you want to be in to be able to be involved in them in future. If you just stay home, you're never going to get the opportunity, you know. Push the boundaries, get on out there. I love it, especially with people like Carl Cox.
Exactly. Well, I always have a saying, like a couple of sayings, like you're not gonna. I mean, what would you rather be doing, sitting home watching Netflix or going out and, you know, meeting new people, doing new things? But everybody's different, obviously. But for me, I don't watch a lot of television.
Neither. We listen to music.
I listen to
Funny
music
enough.
any chance I've got. And so for me, the idea of, you know, sitting watching Netflix is not inspiring for me. But I suppose the reason I'm out there doing these things is because genuinely I love music so much, and I love being around in that environment. And I think
it's so creative, and I find it so it's so energizing. Yeah, like the energy on the dance floor, the energy from the people around it. Like it's just from all angles. It's just a very uplifting and positive place to be. Yes. You know, I'm sure.
And you know, the one commonality, and you know, I mean, meeting people, you know, like Carl Cox, Josh Butler, all these other, you know, internationals that I've met, other producers, local artists, you know, we all have one thing in common, and that's the love of music. And I suppose
it's like a united front, right?
Well, yeah. So with any culture, whether you're into skateboarding, whether you're into sneakers, whether you're into any subculture, you're always going to have any kind of like-minded people coming together. So it's just when you kind of find that slipstream and where you inspired the most and want to be, it's just all kind of like just want to be more and more.
Yeah, it's addictive for sure.
Yeah, it's but also like you know, I was talking to this guy interestingly on the weekend who's from actually Ibiza, and he was saying like a lot of the DJs over there, it really is a lifestyle. It's not really about, you know, business, like you go here, you do your work, you leave. You can't take that approach. It has to be a whole lifestyle. So you're like,
if you're in, you're in.
You're in. So for me, like it's a balance, because I have to balance obviously my lifestyle with my, you know, my family and my other work that I do. But any chance I get, you know,
you're out there.
And people would think, oh, you're totally crazy for going to New Zealand for the weekend. Well, not really. Like,
nah, get it done.
Yeah, like
enjoy it.
And I had such an amazing time. I mean,
you'll never regret going. You'll never regret it.
Like, and actually, in fact, I really miss New Zealand. Like, I think about it all the time. Everyone is so nice there, or everyone was very nice to me. I don't know why, but like everyone was super nice to me, and it was just really nice, like, to get out and meet fresh faces and have like a bit of perspective about how different culture does it, different industry, you know, watching, you know, like the team players over there, how they promote the production that they use. Like, they were doing some production stuff over there with the lighting. I was so impressed, and I've been in Europe now and in Australia. I've never seen anything like that.
Wow, that's interesting.
The ingenuity that you get to see by going to different cultures. And also I think just traveling makes us better human beings. It gives us an ability to make better connections. The world is kind of an open book on social media, but there's nothing that replaces meeting someone in real life and connecting in real life. And I think it gives you a perspective. And also, as cheesy as it sounds, I think it helps give you an appreciation for what you have back home, and, you know, the community that you actually live within. So travel for me is actually a really important part of my life. And it was a decision, I consciously made a decision that I wanted travel to be a lot more front, because obviously I traveled a lot when I was younger, and then I had 3 kids and had to be a lot more home-based. But now, during COVID, when COVID first hit, you know, I was working a lot in hospital, and we haven't covered this, but I also work as an intensive care nurse.
I remember, sorry to interrupt there, I remember the two of those points. So like you've segued perfectly. I didn't even need to. You're just rolling this in. It's great.
I anticipate.
But I remember the first day I saw you post a picture, because your Mixed Methods Instagram page is very professional. It's very DJ focused. You obviously keep your family life private, which I totally respect. But I remember the first day I saw a picture of you in your scrubs on there, and I messaged you, and I was like, "You fucking serious? Are you a nurse as well as a DJ?" Like, I just had this perception you were a full-time DJ. Anyway, that was one bombshell, and you shared some stuff with me, and I was super shocked. We obviously don't need to go too much into it, but I see you now.
Yeah, I work in intensive care and also sometime in emergency as well.
So hectic. That's like not even, that's like nurse, but nurse on steroids.
And then I also do nursing research as well. So
you
I work on research contracts, collecting data and doing research projects, and also doing a little bit of writing on medical manuscripts and journals as well. That's all stuff that, you know, I keep on the down low.
Yeah, and it's cool. I respect that, because so many people do overshare so much online, which is fantastic. It's part of their brand, and you need to be out there on social media. Something I'm actually really struggling with this podcast is I'm just not good at social media, and I'm really trying, and it's challenging. So yeah, it's interesting that you can have this whole other life that you don't even think about, because I just assumed that you were full time. And then the real bombshell for me was, again, it was another few months later, and then you shared something, not any like obviously pictures or names or anything like that of your children, but you just posted a story of, "I've had such a fucking busy day. I've been here, there and everywhere, and I still got home in time to put my kids into bed." And I messaged you again, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You've got children?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've got 3." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're like superwoman." I was so shocked. I remember speaking to Porrick about it, and I was like, "Can you believe this?" And we're just absolutely mind blown. I don't know how you do it. So honestly, very, very impressive.
Well, how I do it is, it takes a village. You know, I have an amazing husband who, you know, we've been together a long time, and we work really well together as a team with the kids. So he has a lot of support and wants to see me do whatever it is that I'm doing when I'm happy. So, you know, he always has a saying, "Happy wife, happy life."
I mean, yeah.
So he's been amazing. So whenever I'm out and about, but yeah, I do have the caveat that my family don't want to put anything on social media about them. So it's
that comes from them.
Yeah,
I think that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, keep it private.
I mean, I do like to share sometimes, like, but yeah, I have to respect that they're asking me not to do that, and then, but it's also hard, because then sometimes people, all they see on social media is, if they do know that I have kids, they see on social media that I'm just posting photos of me out in venues, you know, at parties and like travel and all these amazing parts of my life. Oh, but let them
think what they fucking want.
Yeah, like, but then other people are like, "Well, what, you know, where are your kids right now, or what are you doing, or you know?"
Fuck them. What's it got to do with them?
I know. Well, there's a lot of stereotypes as a mother that you have to overcome.
Yeah, I can imagine it's challenging, don't get me wrong. Yeah. So it's easy for me to sit here and be like, "Fuck them." I can imagine it takes its toll on you, but at the end of the day, everyone in your close friendship and family knows you're a good mother and a good wife. As long as they know that and you know that, you're never going to please everyone. Like,
that's right.
As you get bigger, which obviously you're well on your way to be doing, you're never going to be able to keep this. There's going to be haters wherever you are, right? And a lot of that comes from jealousy, and there's a good reason to be jealous. And you know, one day when you're super famous internationally, you know, they won't be wanting to keep their identity hidden. Well,
they'll want to be on the private plane and on the VIP guest list. And
especially they're getting older.
Yeah, they're getting older. They, you know, my girls don't really appreciate it right now, but I know that they'll get a time.
Oh, they will. Everyone will
appreciate. You know, if I'm still doing this when they turn 18, then.
Which I dare say you will be.
Well, you know, I take the philosophy that, you know, you just can't take anything like this for granted, and you 100%. Have to really live in the moment, and you never know when things are going to change, or life changes, or, you know, there's a new artist that comes in, or anything, you know, anything can happen. So I kind of always just sort of think I live, as cheesy as that sounds, live very much in the now.
Oh, me too. I know it's the word, it was like a buzzword in whatever era it was, but YOLO, and it's also so true. It's corny, but it's so true. It's like literally I can come across a bit pessimistic, but it's actually just severe anxiety about, like, you don't know what tomorrow brings, and so I'm just like, just have a fucking good time, because you don't know when it's going to get taken away from
100%. And this is, I segue back, COVID first hit, and there was all the news reports coming out in the UK about, you know, all the doctors. Look, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it again, because I don't really talk about it very often. But
coming out of retirement.
There was all the news stories of when COVID broke, and there was a lot of healthcare workers in the UK that were dying from COVID, and being, you know, an ICU trained nurse, you know, there's not many, you know, there's a small percentage of nurses that are trained to manage patients on ventilators.
Right, and you're one of them.
And I'm one of them, and I knew that I was absolutely front line, and I was going to be.
So it was. Sorry, I know it was only a few years ago, but you're saying that you got news of shit hitting the fan in England.
Yeah.
You knew it was coming.
Yes.
You knew it was coming for you here.
Yeah, exactly.
So you knew you were about to buckle up and get stuck in.
We were having all sorts of preparations going on in the hospital, but the thing is, until it hit, it was sort of like this unknown.
It's terrifying.
You know, and there was a story in the UK. I can't remember her name, which I would like to look it up. But she was a nurse, and she had 3 kids, and she died. And I was just like, it just hit me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the front line. I'm going to die.
You were scared.
I was scared. Yeah. I really thought, you know, my place went to the worst, you know. And so I remember, you know, when I was working at the hospital and we were doing all the gowning and, you know, working in that first time when it was all really unknown and everyone fresh. I remember realising at that point I'd never been to Europe. I'd never had the chance to.
You've never been to Europe? No. Wow.
And I was like, I said, I'm going to die, and I've never been. Like, I've always wanted to go to New York. I've always wanted to go to Italy, like Rome.
And you've been to all of those places now?
I haven't been to New York yet, but you know, I've always wanted to do all these things. And I remember just sort of going, you know, potentially I could lose my life, and I've not achieved.
Isn't that crazy to think back then that we were so scared?
Well, yeah.
I remember I've been here for 9 years this year. At the time of COVID hitting, I think I'd been here for 5 or 6. I can't quite remember. And my dad, who is very happy that I lived my life over here, he's really proud of me that I took that step and I went and just took matters into my own hands. He called me and he said, all right, Jazz, I think it's time you thought about coming home. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean? I was like, I live here. Because it obviously hit. I can't really remember. I think it got worse there first or whatever. And he said, I think you should think about coming home. And literally the only reason I didn't get on a plane and go is because I could not afford to take my dog with me. And I was not going to leave him here. And obviously I'm very glad that I made the decision to stay. But that was really scary for me, for my dad to say that to me. And I had my entire friendship group get on planes and go home because they were like, people thought they were never going to see their family again.
Yeah.
It really was fucking terrifying.
Mental.
But not to make this too pessimistic about the times that we...
But yeah, that's why I'm so focused on travel
and getting it
playing
done,
overseas. I'm really pushing myself to play internationally, taking opportunities to go to New Zealand when you can, because you never know what is around the corner. And
exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I think also that without sort of going too much further into COVID, because I think we've all had enough talking about it. One of the things that I saw was a lot of mental health impact on people because of this thing called social distancing. And so that actually pushed me, and that was actually probably part of the fundamentals of what really continued to push me week by week in my DJing and making music, because, you know, I see all these people, you know, struggling with healthcare, mental health during this time and social isolation. And what's the one thing that music does?
Brings people together.
It brings people together. So for me, you know, I couldn't accept the concept of social distancing. It's not normal, it's not human, it's not right, and we can't exist in a world where social media is our only form of contact.
Absolutely
it's not right.
No,
because at the end of the day, when we all have feelings, we all need human connection. It's really important. So for me, it's actually a part of an extension of my healthcare, as random as that sounds, is that, you know, I can, you know, be each week I'll be looking after people at the end of their lifespan, or going through one of the hardest times, or their family members going through one of the hardest times. And then on the week, and, you know, I've got the privilege to be reminded of that. And then on the weekends, I'm out, I'm playing music in front of people, I'm making them happy, seeing them dancing, interacting with each other.
So it's almost like a therapy.
It's a therapy.
The shit you go through in the week.
It's a therapy for me, and it's also a therapy for other people, because it makes people happy.
Do you know, until you just said that, I obviously know that you are, you know, a practicing nurse. I didn't actually take into consideration, like, how intense it is. Like, obviously nurses got a lot of credit through COVID, but they should do every day because it's a tough job that you do. But I didn't actually think of it to the extremes that you just said it, and how much of a mental toll that must take on you weekly.
It's a huge mental toll. Like I talk about this sometimes, not very frequently because obviously we have patient confidentiality, but, I work in a very extreme part of healthcare. So you do see people, who have, experiencing the worst of the worst. And, you've got to, sometimes you see things, you can't unsee them.
Yeah, of course, PTSD.
And so, yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you can classify that, but, there's things that happen, like all of the bad stuff that you see on the news usually ends up in where I work. So, so I have to process that. I love being a nurse. I'll never change it. And I find it a very rewarding job. But also for me, it's the extremes of what you do witness. You have to have some way to compartmentalize it. And for me, music is my therapy just as much as... It really is the answer. And, even being able to sort of go, okay, I'm going to leave that at work, that I've finished my shift, taking my scrubs off, and now... and
do you feel like when you take your scrubs off, that's you like leaving it there, or is it not? Obviously, it's not as easy as that. But do you try?
I mean, it's easier because you're in a uniform. You're not. You're part of a profession. And it's easy. Like you clock on, you clock off, but physically you clock on and off, but mentally,
yeah.
But DJing and music absolutely helps me be able to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, I just probably saw one of the worst things, and if a lay person or a normal person tried to see that and then try and process it, so it's easy, it helps me. That's why I do get frustrated sometimes with music industries. Sometimes it can be a little bit competitive, or like not lifting each other up and supporting each other. At the end of the day, I do, deal with a lot in my professional life, but also I take music, and that's also my professional life.
Yeah, of course.
And so, try and have a little bit of understanding, compassion, that people have other things going on in their life, and
not just not just that.
But yeah, I do live in two. I almost feel like I'm Clark Kent times two. But like, I have a photo of myself where I'm wearing my scrubs, and I have a photo of myself as me, which Mixed Methods is me. Everyone's like, oh, it's your brand. No, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, which one is me? But they're both me.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that was all amazing, and thank you so much for sharing. But I was going to say, I haven't really done much of an introduction, but I think I will do that. I think I'll do that separately. We could do that in the bio and all that crap. Okay. But you're relatively, I don't want to say new, because it's definitely not new now, but I might start with how I first came into kind of contact with you, and then I'll segue into where it all started for you. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, I remember, really doesn't mean so creepy or whatever, but I remember the first time I actually saw you was at Sam Divine's event at Pool Club at the Ivy, and it was in February or March of like a couple of years ago. Mm. And the reason I remember is because that's around that time was when I made a conscious decision that I was going to figure out what was going on and who was who. Yeah. So what I did was I was looking who was in the backstage area, would you say, behind the pool club. Right. And then after that event, I looked at Sam Divine's story and I saw all the people that she had tagged and she was with. So that's when I started following you. Right. Months and months and months after that, I would obviously following you, and my boyfriend had been to this event at Bridge Hotel, such a sunrise. And I was watching your story, and all of a sudden I looked in the video and I thought, that's fucking Porrick. And there he is at the front of the thing, swinging his like tops or sunglasses around, like having the best time. And he is known for like just having the best time all the time. That's why I love him so much. And I thought it was so funny because I was like, oh, Porrick, there you are. Porrick and my friend Sean were in your video. But then weirdly enough, the next night at Glitterbox in the Ivy, I was there with my girlfriends and I turned around and you were right there in front of me. And I thought, how bizarre is this? I've never interacted with you in any way other than following you on social media. My boyfriend was in your video 2 days ago, and now here, and this was on the Friday, and then you're right in front of me and we had like a little chat. I obviously don't expect you to remember, it was a long time ago, and probably a bit of a Carl Cox moment. You spoke to a lot of people back then, but that was for me when I really tuned into, oh, who is this Mixed Methods, and started following your music. Because when I followed you, I didn't know you were a DJ. I just saw that you were with the crew, and I wanted to kind of go into that next layer of all the people were with. Mm-hmm. And then when I really became a fan, would you say, or tapped in, was Deep in Your Soul's event at the rooftop of Mardi Gras. I was there. No way. Yeah. I didn't know you were there. Yeah, so that was obviously a year ago, just gone. This is, it's sort of like, what's the word for it? This was a turning point.
I feel like the rooftop.
For you?
Yeah, the rooftop party was the turning point, but also, yeah, it's kind of like a bit of an infamous, like if you were there, you were there.
You were there. It
And,
was
you know,
amazing.
I
And
mean,
like,
I still have, to this day, I did a post about this last week.
I saw.
I still have, to this day, people randomly coming up to me going, do you know, I was there. And I was like, oh, mate. And, you know, that was
so good.
That was my first headline.
Yeah, I remember.
That was my first ever headline. The Deep in Your Boys guys gave me a shot. And I had no expectation. I didn't think anyone was going to be there.
So
It was just off the chain. It was one of the most incredible nights.
We saw it advertised. It was reasonably priced. It was just behind Oxford Street. It was a rooftop, love a rooftop. And we had tickets to go to Sutra afterwards. So we went to your event, left there about 2, rolled straight into Sutra, left there at 1 p.m. the next day. Like it was a session and a half.
Everyone does that.
It was Mardi Gras this year.
Sutra.
This year,
I mean, it's like a vortex.
Oh yeah, I always say it wrong.
It's just beautiful.
Jacob's actually going to come on the pod at some point, which is exciting.
And Raj, there's such amazing guys.
Yeah. Oh, is there 2 of them?
Yeah, there's Raj, Jacob, and Kangu as well.
Oh no, I've only invited
a whole team.
Oh my god, I've only invited Jacob.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well I'll pick that one up. That's an action for me. But yes, it was from that point, and then I obviously built a relationship with the Deep in Your Soul guys because I wanted to get a bit more involved. And it's just funny because it's all kind of weirdly feels like it all links back to Sound Divine in some way, this whole musical journey. But yeah, so that's how I started following you. And I didn't really know much about you. I knew you were kind of up and coming on the scene in Sydney, which obviously we can get to where you're at right now.
Yeah.
But where all I know is through other people and friends and obviously the grapevine, like it was a bit of a coming out of COVID thing for you, DJing.
Yes.
And now you've really established yourself. So where did it begin?
Where did it begin? Well, it's a great story. And sometimes I even think, you know, when I tell this story, I've gotten better at like condensing the elevator pitch of it. But essentially, what happened was I was finishing a nursing degree, and I was doing my honours, and I was really struggling towards the end.
So you haven't been a nurse your whole life?
No. I used to be an executive at Qantas in my previous life. But yeah, let's not go into that. I've kind of left that part of my life behind. Yeah, I used to be an executive at Qantas, and then I had my children. And when I was having my children, I decided that I wanted a profession that was more in line with what I was hoping for. And I wanted something with the flexibility to work around my family. So I pursued that. But then I also found that I was quite academic, which was much of a shock to, well, not really a shock to my parents, but shock to myself. You know, I got very good grades in university, and so I was offered an honours by thesis at the university. And so I started doing that, and while having my kids and doing a full-time year as a grad nurse student in emergency. So yeah,
oh, wow.
It's pretty fucking crazy. But I was coming towards the end of that and really, you know, having a hard time, struggling. Anyway, it was my birthday, and so I decided to have a party at my house. I used to club back in the days, like I was a really big club head. I used to rave when I was younger. I was a big raver. I used to club. I used to go to Sublime religiously every week. You know, I grew up on the dance floors of like Frankie Knuckles, Stacey Pullen, Derek Carter, Jeremy Healy, Roger Sanchez, you know, even Carl Cox back then. Everyone. I used to go out religiously. And then obviously...
And what was your vibe back then? Was it the Mixed Methods vibe?
Same.
Yeah. Wow.
Same. And I used to always hang over the decks at the front, and I would just always be watching the DJs. But, you know, I wasn't really like, I was pretty obsessed with DJs, to be honest, particularly Frankie Knuckles and Stacey Pullen, that kind of Chicago tip. Anyone that came in here into Sydney from that Chicago tip, I would be there.
All over
rain, hail or shine. And yeah, so I grew up on the dance floor with these guys, and so then obviously having my kids, taking time out, you know, having my career, establishing my family, getting married, you know, establishing my house, my financial stuff.
All the grown-up stuff.
All the
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm just living my best life over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're there. It'll come back around. You'll be good. So yeah, and then I took time out, and then you know, obviously it was my birthday, so I decided I wanted to turn my house into a club. So
this house,
yeah. So downstairs in my kitchen, I got rid of all the furniture, hired some decks, and there was a girl at uni that put me in touch with a DJ, and he came and played at my house. Anyway, the whole time I kept, you know, like, I'm having a great time. But I kept looking at the DJ going, you know what? I really want to learn how to do that. Just to make my own mixtapes. I
Yeah.
just want to learn
Just
to
for
do
fun.
the skill of that. No, nothing else. I knew no DJs, no promoters, no one who could say, hey man, can you teach me the DJ? No one, nothing. So I enrolled myself in a DJ school, which was essentially just
Online?
Yeah, no, I'm old school. I need to be shown how to do something in person.
Oh, 100%. But so that's around.
Yeah, so it was just in this guy's front living room, basically.
Nice.
And it was propositioned as a professional school, but it wasn't really. It was just a.
It obviously did the trick.
It did the trick. And I learned all the basic skills. It was great. And so, like any good university student, I applied myself the task of inviting all of my friends back to my house, setting up decks and playing my first set.
Here again
downstairs.
Jeez, you know that's the beauty of owning a house.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can just do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly. And I had the mission. I wanted to trash my house, which we did. And it was great. So I know I ended up playing this set, and
that was your first official.
That was set. It was not my first official, but like first, playing music in front of anyone.
Yeah.
So, and a friend of mine, one of my best friends, Matt, who introduced me to my husband. I've known him for so long.
Shout out Matt.
Shout out Matt. He actually took a video of me and posted it on his Instagram, which is a private Instagram. And he happened to go to school with Rod Richards from Rod Richards Presents.
That's how you know
That's how,
him. Right.
So Rod then saw this video and was like, it's a 30-second video. And is like, who's that? And then I had just been to my first night out, one of my first nights out, which was Roger Sanchez and Mark Knight at the Green, which he did. And so I kind of had an inkling who Rod Richards was, but I really didn't know.
Oh, really?
I had no concept of who Rod Richards was. So he said, look, send me a mix, and if it's any good, I'll give you a gig somewhere. Sent him a mix. Next thing I know, I get an email back, great mix, love to give you a gig somewhere. Anyway,
wow. So you go from messing around with your friends in the kitchen to getting a gig from a private Instagram account.
Not just any gig. So my first official gig, Rod didn't actually tell me, but like the lineup of the flyer for Glitterbox came out, and the name Mixed Methods was on there.
Oh, no way.
And I was like, oh, my first reaction was, oh, someone took my DJ name, which my DJ name was totally by accident and off the cuff. Mixed Methods is a research terminology. In medical research, you've got a quantitative and a qualitative research, and when you combine them together in your approach, it's called a mixed methodology. And I was being interviewed by the research department about a research study I was doing on CPR at the time, and for the university newsroom, and they asked me just jokingly what I was going to do now that I finished my degree, and I made the joke that I was going to be focusing on my international DJ career. And then the girl asked me what's my DJ name, and I said Mixed Methods. Just
wow, and that's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Flew off the handle. I love it. So, I love when it's spontaneous and random like that.
Totally so spontaneous and random. So, and even joking about an international DJ career I actually find quite funny now as well. So when the flyer for Glitterbox came out, I saw Mixed Methods on there.
You literally thought someone stole your name.
Yeah, that was my first reaction. I was like, "There's no, how is that your first gig?" And it was actually not until only, I think, last year, Rod and I were talking. We were out somewhere having a coffee or something. And he said, and I said, you do realise at that stage when I played at Glitterbox, I'd only been DJing for 8 weeks. And he was like, no way. He was like, I thought you'd been playing for longer than that. I thought you'd been at least a bedroom DJ for a while. And I was like, no, 8 weeks.
Wow.
He threw me right in the deep end.
Where was Glitterbox that time?
It was at home.
At home bar?
Yeah.
Oh, back where it went full circle again.
Yeah.
Sydney is a small industry, and I get the impression it's like friendly competition, There's like, they obviously all have to do their bit and get their work, but they also support each other. I find it to be, from the outside anyway, kind of quite supportive.
Yeah, I suppose, with the promoting work that I've been doing, there's a lot of different, promoters running different events, different kind of levels at different venues. So yeah, there's always going to be competition, obviously, because the Sydney market is only as big as the Sydney market is, but
relatively small, I think, in comparison to other markets around the world. I mean, it's a
very healthy market.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people are so fixated on what's happening in Europe and all of these amazing parties over there, but for me over here, house music is really king.
Yeah.
In Sydney particularly. So Sydney is the best space for me.
to be in right now. Yeah,
sure. But also, I mean, obviously, you know, there's growth that I want to make overseas, but like definitely Sydney is. Don't underestimate what is happening here in Sydney.
So Rod Richards playing your first gig. So you played your first gig.
My first gig, and then we had the bushfires, if you remember.
Yeah. Oh, how could I forget?
And then COVID hit in March.
Oh, so it was actually before COVID.
Yes. So I came out just before COVID. So
Right.
Mixed Methods started before COVID, so I'm not a COVID DJ.
Yeah. Get that on record.
But yeah, so during COVID, you know, obviously I just got kickstarted, and I decided that, you know, I just got my first taste. How dare the world shut down and take this DJing away from me?
It probably might be the best thing that ever happened to you in disguise, because you probably came back with a vengeance.
Oh, I was like, I dug deep, but also it was driven by the fact that I was working in intensive care, and it wasn't necessarily people dying of COVID. It was seeing people dying of social isolation and things associated with that, mental health.
So how long had you been a nurse when COVID hit?
Maybe 4 years.
Okay. So long enough, but still relatively.
Yeah. Or maybe 3 or 4 years, yeah.
But
yeah, long enough. But yeah, so COVID kind of, you know, hit, and then I got this taste of being a DJ, and I was like, and it got taken away. I feel like the COVID pulled the rug out from underneath me. And I was like, well, I can't accept this social distancing thing. So what I decided to do, which it was organically just kind of happened, was obviously I couldn't do anything illegal. I couldn't, you know, put my name or branding or anything behind running any of the parties that were happening offline. So what I decided to do is I worked with a venue on Oxford Street called Chingalings, and I started running Method Project there.
That's where it started. I thought it was somewhere this way.
No, so Method Project started because initially it was actually booked before COVID hit, and it was actually...
Oh, so it was already going to be a thing.
It was already going to be a thing, but it was a thing because I wanted to have a venue for my husband for his birthday. I was going to run a birthday party for my husband.
Oh my God, there's so many details. I love it. It's a great story. Great story.
But I wanted to have a venue, but in order to not have a venue hire or anything and have DJs playing, I put it under a brand, because then it would just be easier to get access to that venue.
Without having to pay all these bullshit fees and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so you're looking for Method Project.
Secret's out now.
No, it's fine. I mean, you've got to hustle in this world to get anywhere. So you've got Mixed Methods that started as a DJ. Method Project, do you want to give a little one-liner of what Method Project is?
Method Project is now a series of events that I run. It is a project where the ethos is about supporting established and particularly supporting emerging artists in the Sydney scene, and also trying to now expand along, you know, into Melbourne and Queensland and Australia.
Oh, wow, taking the brand there too.
No, I'm not taking the brand there. I'm trying to encourage to open up the borders, you know, for other DJs coming into
Sydney.
Into Sydney.
Yeah, right.
I'm finding for myself it's hard to get booked, you know, in Melbourne because there's a specific crowd and people need, you know,
so you want the relationship into Sydney has to be expanded.
By example, you know, is that we can open our borders to artists in Australia. So, that's the ethos.
As you should. Sorry, I don't keep interrupting you. I'm so bad for that. But music is universal, so what? The more the merrier, you know.
I can look as a promoter. Well, I can call myself a promoter now. I suppose I've danced around that word for a while, but like when I'm looking to put people on the lineup, obviously it has to be firstly I always make it about the music, but the second part is, you know, there has to be an aspect of that person helping from a commercial aspect, bringing people into the venue. So, you know, selling tickets or bringing people into venues. So if I'm an unknown artist or a good quality producer artist that's playing in Melbourne, I'm not necessarily going to be able to bring, you know, 20 mates with me. So it's not always easy to book and develop and get some exposure. So I want to open up Method Project. You know, that's my goal. Obviously, I still have to work within the commercial constraints that I have, but trying to at least have artists here and there where me as the promoter, I'm responsible for bringing the people, not the DJ, so that I can try and have DJs who are quality producers and artists playing in the project. And also now with internationals all coming back into Sydney, you know, the locals are what kept the scene going
for so long
without internationals. But, you know, consumers have got an insatiable appetite for internationals, but I don't want to forget the locals and forget about the emerging artists as well. So Method Project, as much as I don't, there's so many aspects of promoting that I don't enjoy, I really keep pushing forward because I can see the value that it offers to the community, and that's what keeps me driving through all of the challenges,
the hiccups and the hurdles and the speed bumps. 100%.
So yeah, Method Project actually started in COVID, and it was a
so you started before COVID, but Method Project started in COVID.
And then so it was a basically sit down event, so everyone had to do social distancing, sit down, but I found it as an opportunity for artists to continue to promote something on their socials, branding. I had it all, I did all the posters and things like that, and had everyone.
That's so good, by the way. This is another thing. I'm like, how do people have the time to like? I don't know if you use Canva or whatever, but I'm like, it's one thing the planning, it's one thing the marketing, but like the creating of the content is like so fucking long.
Oh, it's a full-time job, but I like have to basically Method Project right now is a one-man band, which you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, here, sister, like, I don't even understand how people do get anything done. I'm like, having a full-time job, trying to fucking do this on the side, plan it. Like, this part is literally the easy, no, this is the easiest part.
This is the easiest
This
part.
is the fun part.
Having a wine.
Having a wine.
But I mean, I am working in collaboration with the venues as well. I shouldn't say it's a one-man band.
No, of course not, but you're driving it.
Yeah, driving it, for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of aspects involved, but it's really a passion project. And as much as I'm like, I always say, and my friends have probably backed me up on this, I quit, don't want to do this anymore, I quit. And then next thing I know,
you're on the biggest high.
No, next thing I know, I'm promoting the next one, and they're like, what happened to quitting? And I'm like, well, this person wanted to play, and this person wanted to play, and it went so well last time, and so let's just...
Oh, it's such a good vibe. That one that we came down to, I don't remember, I think it was the first or second, or maybe you had a break. We had a great time.
Yeah.
I love the venue.
Method
so
Project
you're kind of... what's it called? The main venue you're doing it in now is the studio?
Yeah, so the main venue I'm doing Method Project now is the studio, but also...
In King's Cross,
in
for
King's
people
Cross,
who don't know.
yeah, so Potts Point.
Potts Point, sorry.
But yeah, so essentially, Method Project started with Rod and Damo from T1000 and Matt from One Hit Agency, all being very much supportive of me, and offering me options to run Method Project in their side rooms. So I ran side rooms for them on their New Year Day party. Side rooms here. I ran the side room for Defected for the after party. So having my brand associated alongside those premier brands in Sydney instantaneously gave me incredible exposure, and I will always be forever grateful for all of them for everything they've done and everything they continue to do at this point. But yeah, so it started off sort of side rooms.
And how did you build a relationship with Matt? He's obviously one of the biggest promoters in Sydney, if not the biggest, alongside...
So that was also really interesting. I mean, it's all like, it's an incredible story.
It's all coincidental, right? And it's like
nothing
situational.
Everything's just kind of been like this.
Yeah.
That's
a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, there's been no calculation, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to approach this person, I'm going to do this.
Networking.
It's all just, there's been no networking.
Oh no? Just
zero
into place.
Zero networking. It's just, I'm here going like this and just going with the flow and just being like, I really do this, I'm enjoying this, I want to work with this collaboration. Oh wow, this is this artist. Oh, I'll just ask this question, and then you go down this rabbit hole, and
you go to New Zealand with Josh Butler.
Or you're like, oh my god, and then you meet with this person. Now I'm working for Motive Records with Matt, or now I'm in Amsterdam.
Oh, is that not yours?
No, Motive Records is not.
Oh, I thought Motive Records was yours.
From One Agency and Ben Morris.
Ah, so there you go.
Motive Records, yes.
Right, I thought that was yours. There we go.
So that also started in COVID as well. So I ended up working with Matt because he could see the potential of my promotional skills. And he said, look, I really want to, work with you. And we had a really great connection. And he started giving me really good, some gigs at Taylor's rooftop bar, where everyone was sitting down, but we would bring all the crew in together. We'd keep socially distanced, but it was a way to keep the music flowing and the promoting going.
And keep that vibe going.
And so I started also at that time working for him for Motive Records, doing the promotional work for them. So liaising with artists to get content,
And then you recently signed to him as an artist as well. That's a new thing.
It's a full thing.
Yeah.
And it's taken a while to get there, and it had to be a position where it worked for both of us, you know, because there's a lot of contention about signing, you know, for an agency. Is like, you know, you're in this now, and I'm taking this seriously, and I'm now working head on to be an artist and reach my goals. And
to keep it kind of not short and sweet, but really in like for dummies, getting signed by the agency now means that Matt's team manage your diary for Sydney bookings.
Yes, Matt and his team manage me for my diary, but I also important part of that is I also manage me as well.
Okay.
So I'm staying in control of this. I'm not just handing over my destiny and, you know, all the control and everything, you know, to.
So it's like it's a partnership. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm very much, by signing to Matt and his agency now, the hard work starts now. All the work that I've done to this point
previously
is work, but now really I'm digging deep and working hard.
So would you say it's a real obviously it's a milestone.
It's a milestone. 100% it's a milestone. And it's a milestone mostly for me.
Yeah.
And for my family to draw a line definitively and say, I am now at a point where I'm a professional DJ.
Yeah.
Which to this point,
I think you've been a professional DJ for a while. Yeah. I understand the stigma of labels and what it means for you to say you're a professional DJ, but like you've been a professional DJ for a while in my eyes anyway, and I'm sure a lot of other people in Sydney for sure.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of my friends would say I'm definitely not professional, and I pride myself on not being professional in too many aspects.
Well, you're the best unprofessional DJ I know anyway.
I might put that as a tagline somewhere. The most unprofessional professional DJ ever. Met.
Like Mikey, the professional plus one.
Mate, professional plus one. Let's not go. We're going to talk about Mikey. We will go on a tangent.
Yeah.
Yes,
do you know what? Mikey wants to do a whole segment with me. He's got these grand ideas.
No, but you actually should interview him for the podcast.
No, he wants to do a monthly segment with me. This whole thing. We'll take it offline as a whole new thing.
Of course he does. Mickey is like a really good friend of mine.
Mickey, sorry, I'm so bad. We've got Mickeys and Mikeys and Mikey.
Yeah, we call him. I call him Mickey, but his name's Michael, and we've coined the term professional plus one because he's constantly there, you know, out. You know, my husband's obviously at home with the kids, and so he can't always be out with me. So Mickey is kind of like,
and he is such a fucking vibe.
He's a vibe.
He brings
gets
that
on
energy.
The dance floor, knows everyone, meets everyone. You know, takes all my video content. Well, a lot of my friends do, but mostly Mickey. He's in there. He's on the dance floor. He's getting sweaty.
And he's got, for anyone who doesn't know him, which is probably everyone, he's got the biggest mane of hair you've ever seen, and it's flushing around left, right, and centre. He's such a fucking
looks like
vibe.
Aquaman.
Yeah,
basically. But yeah, Mickey is my. We've coined the term professional plus one.
It's perfect.
You should absolutely interview him because of his perspective of the scene and DJing from an outsider's perspective looking in. But yeah, he's definitely been a part of it. But I can't remember what we're talking about.
Sorry, that's me.
So
that sounds amazing about Methods Project. And funny enough, I've actually forgotten. We did actually exchange a couple of messages at some point beforehand, but I think you lost it. It went into
the Ethernet.
Yeah, just went somewhere. And then eventually you messaged me back and like, oh, sorry, I missed the message. But I was actually, weirdly enough at the time, messaging for a friend of mine, Scott, who was a bedroom DJ. We had a Christmas boat party that we've now just had our 4th year of doing it. I think it's become a bit of a thing with my friend Jules, who we talk about. It's her charter boat company. But Scott DJ'd on that, and then he got a real taste for it, and it was like, yeah, maybe Scott should become a DJ, and he's really, really good.
Yeah.
And then his girlfriend, my best friend Hannah, fell pregnant, and they now have coming up to a 2-year-old daughter, so that kind of went off the radar.
Yes.
And then in the background of all of that happened, now Porrick has learned to DJ himself, so it's funny how I initially started speaking to you about Scott. That's kind of gone on a bit of the back burner while
what sort of music does he play?
Porrick?
Yeah.
A bit of everything, really. I mean, like... Yeah, and disco, tech, house, like everything.
Get him to send me a mix. Okay.
So it was funny. So obviously that I thought was so fucking cool because I've just not. First of all, I've not really been around lots of people that have wanted to get into DJing before at this point in my life. But now that I am, it's really hard. It's like you see all these people. There's lots and lots of DJs around, and everyone wants to be a DJ now. Maybe it's like the buzz thing to do, but unless you know people and you've got the confidence, like for example,
Yeah.
Porrick is really, really good on the decks, but he doesn't have the confidence to network with people like I do.
Yeah.
It comes naturally to me. So I was really quite intrigued by the Method project because, or project, as you Aussies would say, because it was kind of giving people an opportunity to showcase their talent without really having to know too many people, and then they get to know people through that. So I thought that was really interesting. So have people that you started it with, your mentorees, would you say, have any notable Sydney names?
Well, there's lots of people that have played for the project, but they were at different levels, so I can't really claim any claim to their success. It's just part of the journey, but it's the ethos of, again, coming back to with Method Project, keeping the focus about locals, and also keeping the focus about me as the promoter being the one that has to provide the party and the dance floor, and that they need to just focus on being themselves as the artist.
Okay, so you put the pressure on yourself.
I put the pressure on myself to bring the
and
party.
they get to come, play, get
Yes.
experience the vibe, and get a taste for it.
But also there's the commercial aspect as well, as when you're working with venues, particularly you need to get people in the door.
Of course.
You know, you need to have tickets sold, you need to have, you know, people spending money at the bar, so, you know, that equates to people. So I can't do all the heavy lifting on my own, but there's not an expectation for that. All I ask, you know, for Meth Project now is that people do their best and they push it on their socials, because, you know, that you don't know if things are happening if no one tells you about it. Advertising is advertising for a reason.
Is there a consistent date, or is
it's just a bit ad hoc?
Right.
I mean, when I first started, you know, working with Rod and Matt and all, you know, all these other guys with the side rooms, it was all just sort of ad hoc. Whenever they had a big event that had a side room available that I could put my branding and choose the lineups for, and they would give me complete autonomy to say, this is who I want DJing. I was never told who's going to play. So I've always had complete autonomy on that. And it was kind of ad hoc. And then at the end of last year, Taras, who runs the Saturday nights at the studio, he said that, I think, you know, it would be really good to have your brand, you and, you know, bringing some new artists into the venue. Would you be interested in working with the studio?
You do Friday nights.
Yes.
You do it.
I said to them specifically, I would like to only do a Friday night because it doesn't compete with my bookings as a DJ and what I can do. And so I find that there won't be any clashes with me working against other promoters, doing other events. So I really wanted to keep it about Fridays.
And Friday night's a fucking great night to go out. It's a great night,
because if you go out and drinking, you've got 2 days to recover.
100%. Or 2 days to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. You've got more time to party.
No, I'm all for Friday nights, and it's great. When we came down, whenever it was, loved it.
So this has really been the first sort of residency with a venue, and there's been, you know, a big learning curve for me because I've never run something that's had a monthly event,
and it has been pretty much monthly.
Yeah, so 7 months I've been going into the studio now, which is really quite incredible, but. I've learnt a lot, and the venue have been really great to work with me, and I was very upfront with them at the start that I wanted to make this a collaborative project between them and myself so that we could work together, because, you know, it's in the best interests of both of us, for the brand and also for the venue, you know, getting the best outcome for them.
And what do you actually have to do? So you advertise it, you market it. Do you take the decks?
All the decks are there. The marketing, they have a market. I work with a freelance designer that does that for the main flyers, who's been brilliant. Her name's Stephanie. She's been banging on every time with it. And then the artist tiles I actually do myself. And then
so the main poster, you get help with that, and then you do the it's very on brand.
So main poster I get Stephanie's just nailed the brand, and then push it through my socials with studio socials, and then also asking, you know, the other DJs that play for me to push it through their socials. But as far as all the decorations and the cage, that is all me. So I'm there at the venue setting up the cage, climbing on ladders, setting up the signs, doing all that, doing the sound check.
What time do you usually get there?
I usually get there 7 or 8 o'clock.
7 p.m.
for a 10 o'clock opening.
10 o'clock open? Is that what time it opens?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I loved it when we came down. I thought it was great.
So the Cage was me because like I play for them sometimes on a Saturday night, and they've got a very specific look and feel and marketing around their brand. And so for me with Method Project, I wanted to make it where
the complete opposite,
very definitive that it was Method Project in the venue,
and not just a normal night.
Yeah, and also, you know, it's not just a pretty flyer and then you come and it's the same venue. You come and there's a different experience. There's actually a point of difference.
Yeah, that's smart.
So yeah, I actually built the cage myself with the help of my dad and an angle grinder, cutting out the shape. Initially, I bought it just as a flat piece of cage because I wanted to see if you could make it like a definitive mark. But then I've slowly been cutting away and creating a window in the cage, but it's very definitive that it's not. It looks like Method Project in the studio.
It's got your brand on it. Yeah,
it's not just it's not just a sign that says Method Project. There's a
look and feel of it. Yeah, nice.
And I want to keep doing, like in January, I had like making a fresh start. You know, the concept of turning over a new leaf. I wanted to do something where I had like some flowers and vines and things hanging down. And I really do want to push the brand and do some more creative stuff with it. But I'm working on a limited budget.
Of course.
So I've just sort of worked with what I've got, but the cage is definitely very effective. And
that's what you have to do. I've come to realise through this whole process of doing the podcast, I've really got myself down at points about like, you know, not having the best equipment and this, that and the other, but like you know, now like slowly chipping away. I brought my little tripod here, brought the microphones. You can only do so much.
Exactly.
It doesn't just happen overnight, and you have to just chip away at it. So each week you use a little bit of that profit to invest in something else, you invest back in, and eventually you'll get it to where you want it to be.
Exactly.
So what's next for Method Project?
So next for Method Project is just keep rolling through. I want to, you know,
happy at the studio.
As I said, like it just keeps like there's points where I'm like, I want to quit. This is tough. You know, who wants to be a promoter? You're dealing with, you know, setting up the cage, running this, fixing this problem, making sure the DJs are posting, the guest list, making the marketing, inviting everyone, doing the Facebook event, you know, getting all of that.
A lot of admin.
And I'm this is not my background. Marketing and social media is not my background. So like you're having to kind of learn on the fly and get things, you know, invoicing and, you know, getting to know the venue and how everything works for them and what their needs are and what their requirements are. And there's lots of teething problems, but I find myself as, you know, like that famous saying, just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
Yeah.
And that always comes to my mind every time I'm rehanging that cage up every month, is that, I just really am driven through the artists that I've been able to support and my colleagues and give them a space to play music, because at the end of the day, I just love music. I just want to play music. I just want to do this. So anything I can do to make that happen for myself and other people, I'm just going to keep doing. So Method Project, it's a growing thing. It is a project.
Do you think it's got that ethos around like emerging talent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one I've just booked, and I've got like some. I'm finding now the balance between having established artists with a good following, and so that we keep the focus on the, you know, really good quality of music and making sure that when people come to Method Project, they have a good understanding of what they're going to hear and what they're going to experience. A sound, I suppose, is my job as the curator of the sound, is making sure that people fit within to
your
create
brand,
a flow.
yeah.
But it's also like reaching out, and there's this new up-and-coming DJ called Bailey, who actually Mickey is responsible for putting me in touch with.
Not just the professional plus one.
Not just the professional plus one, but he's also becoming an asset for like talent scouting himself.
Talent scouting,
so
Mickey.
I probably even shouldn't be admitting this, but yeah, he definitely needs to be on the payroll at some point. And that's the goal for Method Project, is that I can get my plus one making some money on this too. It'd be great. But at this point, you know, I've got her coming on and playing, you know, with some established artist, Matoni, who I obviously know with Matt and Tony through One Hit Agency. And
oh my God, I've just literally at this exact moment in time just realised that it's Matoni.
Yeah,
Matt and Tony.
it is Matt and Tony.
I never understood.
Tony with two eyes, Matt would make me say.
Oh my God, the penny has never dropped until you just said it in that way. That's so funny.
But yeah, Matoni. So Matt also works owns Motive Records, and Matoni, you know, they release a lot of their music on Motive Records. So I'm always about supporting the brand and Motive Records. So I've got them on, and I've got Cassette coming on, who I've wanted. She's been on my bucket list for ages, and we've only just crossed.
She was at People's Party.
She was at People's Party. She's absolute, you know, gun DJ. She's so we recently sort of crossed paths. So that's also the organic thing about Method Project, is really coming across the ebbs and flows of people, and when things are the right time or you get that universal alignment, things seem to click into place. I mean, there is strategy behind it, of course, but
yeah, you're not just freeballing
it, just figuring it out on the fly. But you know, trying to find a really nice balance, as I said, between established artists that deserve the respect and to have a space
for some emerging.
Yeah, and then also other people that can come in and just do their thing, you know. But there still has to be quality about it. I have a very firm ethos in myself, so I don't book mates. Yeah. And I've never been about that. I've always been about booking people on the music or the
quality,
or whatever it is. But yeah, I've never been like, okay, I'm just going to put all my mates on the lineup and we're just going to party together. Because that essentially, if I'm going to be charging people a ticket price or to come enter into the door, I have to give them the respect that I'm giving them something that's worth paying for.
Yeah, 100%.
So I take the pressure on of that myself. You know, so there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure in promoting, because it's your reputation, it's the venue, there's the commercial aspect.
Has to stack up.
There's the consumer experience. At the end of the day, I just want people to have a good time. I always just come back to, I just want people.
Why you do it?
Why you do it? I've grown up with music and going out and doing things my whole life, and so to be able to help be part of keeping that going for the next generation. But also, like, Method Project's an important part of Mixed Methods and my brand. And, you know, like, I've recently signed to One Hit Agency, and part of the strategy around that is, you know, do I continue on with Method Project or do I not?
And that's what I was literally just about to ask you. You've referenced being a promoter. How does it work when you have just signed to an agency, a very well established, if not the biggest kind of promoter in Sydney, would you?
Yes.
Or one of the major players at least.
Yes.
How does that work with your relationship with him? It's like, hey, I'm going to go and sign for you, but I'm also a promoter myself. Like, what's this?
I know, and that's the thing. Like, for me, Mixed Methods, I really want to make this a big part of my focus. You know, I've made a conscious decision now to sign to an agency. You know, to make that line in the sand that I am a professional DJ.
Put your big girl pants on.
Put my big girl pants on, and also, like, I've hit a comfort zone, so I want to keep pushing myself outside of that comfort zone so I can keep growing, so I can hopefully go and play in Melbourne, in Queensland, in Bali, and continue to grow overseas and play. So I have to make moves to make, you know, a strategic move to say, okay, yes, I'm here on this, I'm taking this seriously. So where does Method Project, which has been a passion project,
fit in? Where
does that fit into Mixed Methods? And, you know, I sat down with, you know, Matt, and we had like a really big strategy meeting and talked about like Method Project, because it does take up a lot of my time and my energy. But it really is part of what I love to do. It's part of my brand. I see myself as being, you know, a DJ that has the great fortune to play across different, you know, venues for different promoters. You know, I played for Sutra, the underground sort of stuff, or People's Party, which was an underground festival. I played for Ivy at Above. You know, I've played for Puffdorf and all of these sorts of things. So I've had the great fortune to be able to play across all of these different communities. So Method Project is kind of like my contribution to that.
Yeah.
For other people to experience what I've been able to experience by giving me a shot. Like Rod Richards, Matt, Damo, the guys of Sutra, Puffdorf, all those guys have given me the choice, the opportunity to do something that I love, makes me so happy. So I want to be able to pay that forward.
But
so it's a hard thing because my focus right now for Mixed Methods is about music and production. And, you know, because that's really, you know, something that I've really enjoyed the process of making music, collaborating with different artists, you know, and that's also, you know, a firm part of the being, you know, an artist is having music that will help you grow and go to different countries and borders and cross boundaries, because music, you know, is really a universal language. Making music is an important part of that. But again, this is not strategy. I just enjoy making music, and I enjoy the process of that collaboration. My first record was actually on Motive Records, and Matt and Ben were both the ones that encouraged me to start making music. So I did that, and I actually feel like my job at Motive as in promotions, and now extended into helping with A&R, is it's given my learning of production has given me a better understanding and better ear for music.
And how many? You've got about five or six?
Five, yeah.
5?
I think so, yeah. So my first one was Motive, and then my second one was I made this sort of instrumental, and I wanted to sort of really focus on piano. And there's a Australian DJ called Kid Kenobi. You've heard of Kid Kenobi? My kids are in the background. You've heard of Kid Kenobi? He's sort of like old school DJ, and like he's still, you know, out there. Anyway, I was talking to him backstage, and he said, you know, I said, is there any advice for someone starting out in production game? And he said, just make the music that you want to play in your sets.
You know, I've heard that, and it's like there's no point making music that you think people like or this and the other. You have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're going to be the one that then has to play that song for the rest of your life. You know?
Yeah. So I asked Josh about this all the time, like, how much do you love playing Call Me Back all the time? He's like, you know what, I do. I love it. Play it all the time. I have to. So I have to enjoy the music that I make. So when I started making my second record, I was like, I really want to make like a piano Chicago house vibe. Like I was experimenting with the 909 drum kits and stuff like that. So I was like, I want to keep it old school. Anyway, I was thinking about the vocalist, and I kept using an a cappella of Roland Clark the whole time when I was making it. And I was like, I can't think of anyone else for this record now. There's no one else I want to work with on a vocalist right now. It's just, this is Roland Clark. That's it. So I wrote the instrumental, and then I sent an email to Roland and said,
any prior relationship?
No prior relationship, never met him before. I did tag him on a lot of stuff on socials, but only as a courtesy and respect when you play someone else's music or song.
In a video.
Like it's a reference. Like university student reference
citing.
To cite someone, give them the credit. So there was no strategy involved there. So I sent him my instrumental, said I've been using this a cappella over the top to build the instrumental. Here's my press kit. I had like 1,000 followers, but there was no followers on Instagram. Like I had no social anything. And he responded back with, great, yeah, I love it. I'm keen to work with you. So
you had dropped his previous vocals over your song? Is that what happened?
Yeah, over an instrumental demo, and said, I really want to make a track with you using your vocals. Here's the instrumental I've written for you.
And what program do you use to write the instrumental?
At the time it was Logic.
Okay.
But I'm now learning Ableton. For ease of use.
Yeah, Porocast is all about that. Funny enough, actually right now, he texts me and said, I'm downloading, because I deleted it off my computer because he wasn't using it. He was taking too much storage up. Yes. He's re-downloading it now, and he goes, the fucking thing is going to take 3 hours to download, and he's got something he needs to do because he's learning to do it as well. Yeah. It's funny you mention it, because literally right at this moment in time, he's at home trying to do it right now.
So I started on Logic.
Yeah, okay.
Now I'm like focused on Ableton, but so I sent him the thing, and then he came back and said, yes, I'll work with you. So came back, sent me the most incredible vocal stems. I was like, wow, I cannot believe this. I had major goosebumps. Anyway, cutting a long story short, we finished it up, and then I started sending it out for demos and sent it to like a few places, but my knowledge at this point of labels was not great. Anyway, I was thinking, and you don't have faith in yourself as a new starter.
No, of course not. You're just trying your luck, right?
Yeah. I was at a stage where I was like, as a new artist, you know, and not long in the game, my knowledge of record labels and even like confidence as a new artist, you know, I had no idea where to send this thing. I'd made this incredible piece of music with Roland Clark, you know.
Oh, you didn't know what to do with it?
I didn't, like, where am I going to send it? Who's going to listen to this? Anyway, so I then was talking to a really good friend of mine, Pete, and I was like, what? I played it to him in his car, and he's like, you should send that to Nervous Records. I was like, Nervous Records? There's no way they're going to consider that. Like
I don't know them.
Nervous Records is like one of the OG record labels, one of the biggest labels. It was out of New York.
New York,
So
wow,
it's
okay.
You know, I grew up worshipping that label even when I was not a DJ. You know, it's a Sentinel record label, and they've got like, you know, Kenny Dope, Masters at Work, Frankie Knuckles, Armand Van Helden, like.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Now I'm listening.
listening. Really, like, ridiculous, like, names on this.
So you sent it to them?
So I sent it to them, and he responded back with, yeah, we'd like to sign it. And I was like, no way. No way. Anyway, so yeah, we got it signed, and yeah, it came out last September. I had to wait quite a while for it to come out because it was in the thing. But like, if you think about who's signed to this label now, it's just mind blowing. So it came out in September. It's called It Started in Chicago, and I'm extremely proud of it. And you know, and I've seen it played a few times, pop up randomly on things.
Do people tag you the way you tag other people?
Yeah, cool. I saw it.
It must be full circle moment.
It's so full circle moment. Like, I had Ben at Motive Records. He said, check out this YouTube DJ mix at 30 minutes. So I flicked, and it's this guys in Argentina.
How cool is it?
Playing my track to the massive club in Argentina. And then,
wow, that's so impressive. That gives me goosebumps. That's like full circle moment. Music is the answer.
Really
Music is universal. That's just the whole being of it all, you know. That's fucking awesome.
If you told me at the start of this journey, like, even if we put a fork in it at that moment, because so much cool shit has happened since that point, but even if we put a fork in it at that moment, you know, to be signed to a record label on Frankie Knuckles, for me, is just absolutely, like,
achievement in itself.
And I never would have thought that I would ever be doing that. So, and then to go on, and now I've like signed to Roger Sanchez label called Stealth. I've got a record with
How can you be signed to more than one?
Well, so you can just sign your actual release with them.
Okay, so you sign a single song with them.
Yeah. So you're not signed to them like an agency.
You're signed to One Hit Agency.
Yes, I'm signed to One Hit Agency. But
it's interesting though, because this is all the shit I wanted to uncover. Because like, for me and many other people like me, I love going to music events. I appreciate the music. I appreciate the artist. Do I understand the ins and outs and the technicalities of it? No, not at all. And
that's such a good point. At the end of the day, sometimes we all, as artists, we get caught up in, like, I'm on this label, or I'm not signed, or my music hasn't been signed. But at the end of the day, just bring it back to keep it about the music, you know, and the rest will follow. And at the end of the day, it's just really about the people's opinion that matters the most, is the dance floor and yourself. That's it. And if you are happy with the music that you're making and playing, and it makes other people happy, or someone else randomly in Argentina plays it.
That's so cool. Did you get in touch with them? Did you message them?
Yeah, I messaged them. I was like, oh my God, like, so amazing. And then also, like, they put Nervous Records, they do like record labels do what's called a VA. So they'll release like top tracks of the year.
What does VA mean?
VA, various artists.
Okay, yeah.
And last year, I saw, they put my track, the Chicago track, on the VA.
Wow, that's so cool.
For Nervous Records.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God. And like, to put it into context, you know, people that are on this is like Mojaxx on that VA.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, this is pretty cool.
Happening.
And yeah, so since then, you know, I got a record on with Roger Sanchez. And as I said, like...
Have you?
Yeah, on his record label called Stealth.
Ah, yeah. Right.
So I did a record with a singer called Bim. She's from the UK. She's a singer over there, and she actually sang in the King's Choir over in at his coronation. You know, the gospel choir that sang at the coronation.
Yeah, that's so cool.
She's one of the singers in that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did a record with her and got it signed to Roger's label, and I've also got another one coming out on Phoenix Black. It came out on Phoenix Black, and I made that in collaboration with these guys called Trimtone, who are from the UK, and I made it last year while I was in the UK with them.
What takes so long? Like, obviously, I understand it's a creative process, but it's been a while since you were in the UK. Like, what's the process of getting it out there?
So the process is making it.
Yeah.
Making it, getting it finished to a point where you're happy with it and you feel like you
Which I imagine you...
It's like wearing your underpants in... honestly, making music is like wearing underpants in public. That's kind of how I feel. You know, you're putting... That's your personal... You know, it's you're putting
blood,
yourself
sweat,
out.
tears.
Yeah. It's your creativity. You're exposing yourself. And so you have to get it to a point where you're like, okay, I'm happy with it, but you got to let it go because, you know, get to a point.
Sit on it.
And then obviously then it's sending it out for demos to different labels. You know, you can send it to one and they'll pick it up straight away, or, you know, whatever. And also for me, there's the added thing of, because I'm learning and still developing my skills in production, you know, it takes me a lot longer to come up with a kick formation or pattern or a structure in a track than someone like Josh, who's like been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I sit on Zoom meetings and everyone's like, oh, you must be learning so much from Josh. Yes, I am, but like trying to follow what he does at the pace, I can't keep up with that. So
yeah, you got to take
my schedule is, you know, is flowing over that way. And then you sign the track, for example, and with the Chicago, and this was all part of the learning process, but the Chicago track, you've got to wait, like I had to wait like 8 months for it to come out.
Why?
Well, just because of their release schedule that they've got with the label.
Okay, they've got things to fall into.
So
but imagine that in, like, do you have to just kind of like set and forget, or is it at the back of your mind constantly?
Yeah, and then so I've got another one coming out called All Night. That's coming out on Flash Mob Records, which is I'm so excited about because Flash Mob was like one of my...
Where are they based?
He's Italian. He's an Italian record label. And Flash Mob, as a producer, one of my all-time like top 5 tracks is by, and I play a lot of his music. And when I started producing, I was like, one day I would really, it was like a bucket list record label to get on.
Wow.
Flash Mob
Smashing
Records.
Goals.
And I got on, I was just, fuck, like, this is so cool.
Is it just like those pinch me moments, but like every day?
It is. Every weekend for me, honestly, Jazz, every weekend, every day almost, there's some pinch me moments.
Yeah, like, it's nice when you have that much gratitude for everything that's happening around. Honestly. It's so good. I think if you can wake up and have that much gratitude inside you every day, like you're in a good place.
Oh, you know? I don't take any of this for granted. I try and remember, like, there's sometimes now when I'm playing, I was, you know, at the Ivy and I'm playing at the Courtyard for Above, and I take a handover from an amazing, you know, international artist that's, you know, fully well respected. I'm standing there in the booth with them, take the handover, given the you know, the confidence that I can now take over and do my thing.
Were you so nervous the first time you did it?
Oh yeah,
every time, yeah.
Every time I'm nervous because I'm like, I have to maintain the integrity, and it's my responsibility to make sure that this party continues on and that people don't leave the dance floor, because there's that expectation. I'm coming for the international. I'm going to. But
you want to finish your night. Yeah.
I want to fucking keep driving that home.
Yeah.
And it's my responsibility to keep the club pumping.
Well, all the videos I see, and when I'm there myself, you certainly do keep the dance floor pumping. So
I just love it so much. And like, as I said, like there'll be moments now when I'm standing there and I remember, I reflect back to those times when I was playing like at Taylor's Rooftop, you know.
Sat down,
or Method Project. You know, I really learnt. I cut my teeth as a DJ with people sitting down at tables. So
imagine the feeling you have now when
you're jumping out over the Courtyard, or when I was last year and you know, I played in Japan last year. I played in the UK. I played in this big Victorian warehouse in Sheffield, And I remember sitting.
What was it called?
It's called Forge Warehouse.
Oh, okay, I don't know. I thought you were going to say the Lead Mill. I went to university in Sheffield.
Yeah, it's an amazing place.
Is that how you know the guys that played for you recently?
Trim Tone, who are also the promoting the men behind behind the promoting the brand Love to Be. So I actually met them in ADE in 2022, and I met them as part of like Motive Records, but also like met them because I was there and amongst it. And at the time when I met them, we just like really instantly clicked and had like a very similar vibe. And they were like, "We love you, and would you play for us as a residency on our radio for us?" And then they were like, "We're going to be doing an event. I'm going to be coming over." They're like, "Come and play for us." And so they were integral in helping me get one of my first gigs overseas. And I'm actually playing for them again this September the 14th. I'm going to be playing over at a festival in a place called Harrisgate, which is near Manchester.
Right. So, is this what we were chatting about the other week? Okay, you got it locked in. Awesome.
It's locked in, 14th of September. I'm so stoked. I can't wait to be back with them. Exciting. I had the best time there last year with them. I laughed so hard. My face was hurting for like an entire week after.
That's the best. That's us going to pitch this weekend in 2 days. 16 of my crew. I've got friends flown from overseas for it, and I already can feel my cheeks hurting from it's so special when you just can't wait to people.
That was back with the connections.
So that was a beautiful segue.
So all pinch me, mate.
Every day pinch me. That was a good segue because I'm getting as much as I would sit here and talk to you all night.
There's so much to talk to.
So much to talk about.
It's so intricate and complicated. And
but it's the beauty of it. And I think
know how far to go into all of it.
And so many people have like, "Oh, we need to come back for part 2." I'm like, we can just do this whole thing part 2 again in a few months. But that was a beautiful segue into what's coming up for you. So we've talked about where you came from, Method Project. You've recently been signed. You've already played overseas before. You've got a tour coming up. So what can we expect to see from Mixed Methods and Method Project in 2024?
Well, Mixed Methods, continuing production, really knuckling down with that, working on developing more music, making, really enjoying the crafting of it, working with different technology, learning all the different plugins, and like really developing. I've started working on a techno track, which is so random. But I'm like, I've been playing heaps of this music from this guy called Ron Costa.
Okay.
And also like from an exposure over in Ibiza last year, I was listening to a lot of like a bit harder style music, and I'm so obsessed with acid synths right now. So I'm making like a techno track, which is a bit random, but we'll just see.
I'm very excited to hear that. Sorry, am I like, is that where all the pressure comes from? Is like when you set, obviously if you're going outside of your comfort zone even more so.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, Mixed Methods making a techno track. What's it going to be like? But I'm excited.
I just enjoy like, and there's sometimes you have your new idea, a plan of where you're going with, but then the music makes the decision and puts yourself, it transitions it into another way. So that's all part of the journey of making music. So
see where the wind takes you.
I want to keep doing this, and that's very integral, important for me. I want to keep, playing in Sydney and representing the brands that I've already been playing for, and I've developed such great community and families in there, and I really love, it's just hanging out with your people every weekend. So I love that. I want to keep pushing myself out of boundaries. So love to play more around Australia.
Where in Australia have you played?
I've not played anywhere else in Australia.
Wow.
It's actually easier for me to get booked to play in the UK than it is to play anywhere else.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay, smashing goals. I'll be there.
Yeah, so I'd really love to go and play, interstate. That would be amazing. I've just engaged an agent in Japan. So I'm working with an agent in Japan, trying to put together some shows. So I can't say too much about that, but
that's fair enough.
Exciting. And then I'm working, so part of, I've got an agent now over in the UK and Europe. So they're working on, obviously we've got this festival locked in September, but I'm also trying to work in whether I go before and after and trying to like make some things work. It's so hard because the handicap of being all the way over here in Australia, it's not easy where I can just go, I'm going to fly to Amsterdam and play for the weekend, or I'm going to
have to make commitments.
Barcelona. I have to sort of come up with a structured plan. So
a grand plan.
So if I'm thinking maybe going June and then going again in September. So I don't know. But also I've got some big, like really great gigs coming up over in, where are we? March and April.
We are.
And May. I've had a really exciting.
And it's going to be June before you know it.
I know. Honestly, like, I can't even believe we're in March right now, but time is literally flying. Every weekend is a weekend for the books. Then by the time I sort of like get all my stuff done for Method Project, nursing, family, research, Motive Records, all that stuff during the week.
Blink Friday.
It's Friday, and I'm back in the trenches, getting sweaty, meeting lots of people, doing everything. So it's just
Number one goal?
I want more of that. I want more of that. Number one goal, God, you're talking to someone with an A-type personality.
Yeah.
So having one goal is never.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
fair enough.
not a reasonable question.
Top three.
Not a reasonable question to have one goal.
Top three.
Just for this year? Or
for this year. For the remainder of 2024.
I would like to be driven from the green room to the main stage of a festival in a buggy.
This year? Yeah, let's fucking do it.
My own buggy. I want to go and play back. I want to play in a new country in Europe that I've never been to before.
Yep. Easily done, I reckon.
But I also want to include going back to where I have played, and so I can see all the incredible people that I've met. Honestly, not being cheesy, but wherever I've gone in Europe, everyone, or even anywhere outside of Sydney, everyone's been so incredibly kind and nice and just want to help you have a good time. So I really want to go. I feel like the world is open up with lots of friends now, so I want to go back and see
friends all over the world.
And then I would also really, I've got a couple of record labels that I'm really like on my hit list.
Okay.
So I'm working very hard right now to make music, but again, I might be making it for one label, but then it really turns into something else. It's like this track, it started off this, but now it's going techno because I added an acid synth on it. So it's like,
So to get one of those knocked off. For sure.
To get that one knocked off would be great. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still going to make the music.
That was three, I think that was three.
And there's three, but that's only just really the production. I don't know. Yeah, there's so many things. And also, like, I would love to be, I'd love to get a sponsorship from Nike, Jordan.
That's so funny.
Market.
Okay, well, you've put the perfect segue in there.
Yeah.
Because hopefully we can see in the video we've got these very, very, very impressive shoe collection behind with the
strategically placed there because
with the crown
is really all about the sneakers.
But with the crown jewels next to her. So right, go on, show it to me. We'll have to get a close up to the camera.
These are a pair of custom. Here we go. I can see.
Yeah, let me do it. Custom Nikes.
And they've got my logo printed on the back.
How fucking cool. Yeah. And as you can see, not worn.
Fresh.
But
box fresh.
We can put a pic of these up as well. Very, very impressive.
I can't even remember when I got them done, actually. I think it was actually during, also during COVID when, like, obviously I was being a little bit fatalistic, but I was like, I've always wanted to have a custom pair of sneakers. And I was like, okay, well, at least, if I do die, this is so morbid, but if I do die, this is part of my legacy and to show my kids how much sneakers really mean to me, and obviously have my own pair. But I've never worn them because an Air Force typically gets a crease in the toe box after the first wear. It's just like, if I wear these, that toe box is gone. So I can't bring myself to wear them. But maybe if we get big enough and earning
you can have more than one pair.
I can have more than one pair, and then I can actually wear these. So maybe no, I'm not going to put that out there. That's just putting too much pressure on myself. But for the moment, these are one of my prized possessions.
And also, you would love to be sponsored by Nike.
I would. Putting it out there, Nike. Although I know I'm doing the promo for you for free at this point. And I'm probably making your job easy for you. Some sort of, but I've been told to be an influencer, you have to have like 10,000 plus likes on Instagram.
You're about 5,000 now?
Yeah, 4.5.
Okay.
You have to be 10,000 to be considered an influencer.
That's all right. We'll get it done.
That's kind of like, everyone's like, oh, I want to be followed. I want to become an influencer so I can get sponsored by Nike, Supreme, or Market. But at this point, I'm doing it for free. So
yeah, we might go for, who knows, this time next year we could be sat here sat here full circle.
Yeah.
And then what's your second favorite pair? You've obviously got pick your top three. No, joking. So you've got your custom pair there.
Wait, look, they're all my favorites.
I mean, there's enough of them, and this is only half the collection.
This is literally the part that we strategically put there because I insisted on having them in the background because they really are part of me and who I am. I'm a massive sneakerhead.
Yeah, so this is actually only the second interview, would you say, I've actually done outside of my home. I came over to Felicity's place, so we had a bit of room to play with. My room that we do it in is all very set. But yeah, very, very, very impressive sneaker collection, and and that's definitely part of your brand because people who don't even really know you that well associate that with you. So what?
I've always been a sneakerhead. I tore a ligament in my foot. I used to play basketball, but I also tore a ligament in my foot when I was back in my corporate days, wearing heels. So I would never ever wear them again.
And that's why
I wear sneakers all the time because my feet. Like
and they look great and they look comfy. Injuries. You always look comfy.
I am comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, when you get to my age as well, you just want to be comfortable.
That's all you need to be. And if comfortable makes you be able to go out DJing till all hours of the morning, be a mother, be an ICU nurse, be a producer, be a DJ, then yeah, fair fucking play. I'll take the sneakers as well.
Yeah, you gotta
give me two pairs.
Gotta be comfortable.
Yeah, cool. So that was amazing. Any last words? I mean, we can definitely pick this up for a part two at some point, but
yeah, I mean, I suppose thank you so much for having me on.
No, really thank you. And I'm glad we finally got to it.
I really love what you're doing. I think your podcast and the other podcasts that are really tapping in to the culture and the community that we live in are really important because everybody has a story. Everybody's got something to contribute, and
it's interesting listening. Like, you know, we had this guy Nate on who tours with huge DJs all over America, and he does VJing, and I didn't know anything about that. I just knew they put some new fancy lights on the screen, and we got to hear his story and tap into it. And your story, how you've gone from being a nurse and a mother. Like, it's so fucking cool to tap into it because all people see is the DJs on the stage, and no one really understands how they got there. So yeah, I'm loving it.
You know, it's, as you said, it comes back to, I think, what I was even saying before is, you know, there's parts of myself that I don't put onto social media. And, you know, some people have like a preconceived idea of who they think a person is. But, you know, it's not until you really sit down and get to, you know, talk to someone in person, you know, and bridge that social media gap or you know, take the time to sit and listen. Like, organising this podcast takes time. You know, we scheduled it 3 times. Because, you know, busy, you're busy, but just making that conscious decision to sit down and talk about something, because you never know. You never know who's listening, or what anyone can take of anything, or even as a form of, like, you know, reflection for myself. Like, I can go back
to listen back to it, yeah, 100%.
And listen to this and say, you know, wow, I was worried about that. I was talking about that. That's not even
there's not even a thing anymore. Oh, I smashed these girls. I got my golf buggy. I'm in a golf buggy every weekend now.
Or how vacuous that she's asked about what golf she has, and the one thing she comes up with is a golf buggy.
Pretty realistic one to me, I suppose. It's funny.
Yeah, are you listening, Mark and Tony? Next festival's in September.
We're doing it. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much
for having me. But yes,
I loved it.
Keep up the good work. I really
and you keep up with the good work too. I can't wait to continue to watch this journey. I know you've got a big following in Sydney, and I truly believe from the bottom of my heart it's going to be a worldwide following at some point. So I can't wait to watch it unfold.
As much as I just want to share music. I just want to play music.
And you will. I think that's going to be your calling. Just one last thing. Do you want to do it full time? Could you see yourself giving up nursing?
This is the thing. I was asked this exact question last weekend, and the answer is I love nursing. I'm a really good nurse, and I actually feel like it provides me with a balance of seeing the world from 2 different perspectives, but also seeing the world from the one perspective, like the fragility of life, the finality of it, that you know, or when, you know, there's just, I don't know. And then also, like, living in the moment, being spontaneous.
So you have to do something and see.
Being in, music and partying is very self-indulgent practice.
Yeah.
But
it certainly is.
It's something like, it's important as human beings that we take time to do those things that make us happy. Whether it's skateboarding, whether it's snowboarding, whether it's reading a book, riding a bike, whatever it is that you like doing. For me, it's partying and sneakers. But I also love being a nurse. And
interesting. Well, hopefully we can look back at this in 5 years' time and say...
Yeah, I think I would still be doing it. I genuinely, hand on my heart, I can't see myself living in any alternative. Although, whether I'm doing one more than the other, obviously, but... Yeah,
whether the seesaw goes the other way kind of thing. Yeah,
but I've made the commitment by signing to one hit and working on the productions and these agents overseas. I want to make this a thing. And also because I believe I've found my slipstream. I believe I've found where I belong and what makes me happiest. When I'm up in that booth, spinning records and looking out and connecting with people who are also enjoying the music, I'm like at peace. This is my happy place. And a lot of people throw that out there, but really is for me.
And honestly, for me, I'm happy. The exact same thing, but just on reverse. I'm the same. When I'm there with all of my friends or complete strangers, I could go out on when I was younger, I'd never, ever, ever, the thought of going out by myself. What do you mean? I can't go out by myself.
Oh, going out by yourself.
I can go on the dance floor and make so many friends, be connected with the music. I think it's a happy place for one and all.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, on that note, we might leave it there. Thank you so much.
Peace.